Hey guys, it's Siri. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you guys are doing great. Guys, welcome to a brand new video. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about things you should know before you move to Vietnam to teach in 2025. It's a new year. Happy New Year, guys. I hope this year is amazing for all of us. It's a new year and this is the time people make new year resolutions of things they want to do. And if moving abroad to teach, specifically moving to Vietnam, is one of your goals for this year, this video is for you, so keep on watching. Okay guys, so the first thing you need to consider if you want to move to Vietnam is what kind of school do you want to teach at. There are three different kind of places here that you can teach here in Vietnam. You can teach at schools, so private schools, or you can teach at public schools, or you can teach at English centers. That is very important to know which one you want to teach at. I personally teach at private schools. Since I've been here since 2022, I've been teaching at private schools. There's so many private schools, so many international schools. I would categorize that under private schools as well because they are privately run. So I'll put international schools under private schools as well. There's many private schools and international schools that you can teach here in Vietnam. There are also lots and lots of public schools that you can also teach here, and there are also English centers. So English centers, these are the places that you work at in the evening. So it can be like an IELTS place, or it can just be like a place where people go, where kids go after school to study English more. So those are the three places you have to decide. So I teach at a private school, so I can speak of private schools when I say I think private schools are a little bit more demanding in terms of things you have to do. Speaking from my own experience and friends that I have and people that I know that teach at private schools, in most private schools you have to do your own lessons, so you have to prepare your lessons yourself, you have to make your lesson plan yourself. Obviously the school would support you with like books and things you would need, but in terms of like preparing your lesson plan, the activities you would need for your classes, those fall on your shoulders. For public schools, I would say public schools are a little bit less stressful. My husband works in a public school, and for public school he works at a kindergarten. At a kindergarten you just show up and everything is already prepared for you. You just show up and you teach. That is very easy. If you want a really laid back, stress-free kind of place, then maybe public schools would be the place for you to go. You just show up and you teach. And public school doesn't have to be only kindergarten. You can teach public primary schools or secondary school. It depends on the job you get and the level of kids you want to teach. And then we have the English centers. So the English centers, like I said, these are evening schools, or sometimes it's mornings if it's during the weekend, because some centers opens during the weekend as well. So English centers, they mostly use books that the kids use during the day at school, so they're just learning more on those things. Sometimes depending on the center you go to, the center you work at, you might have to prepare your lessons yourself, or the lessons will already be prepared for you. So I think you should really consider these three options. Private schools, you have more jobs to do, you interact with the parents more, so you have like parents meeting, you do like monthly reports. Those kind of things is very normal to do at private schools. At public schools you don't do any of that. You just go, you teach, and you're out of there. And at centers it's pretty much the same. You go, you teach, and you're out of there. You don't have to interact with the parents, but it's not as chill or relaxed as public school. So yeah, you have to decide which sector you want to teach at. So that's something you should definitely consider if you're thinking of moving to Vietnam to teach in 2025. The second thing to consider when you want to teach here is salary. Salary is very important. How much am I going to be making for the job I'm doing? I would say salary here in Vietnam depends, just like also many other places, depends on your experience, your qualifications, and whether you're a native or non-native speaker. So what does that mean, native speaker slash non-native speaker? So native speakers are people that are considered from Canada, US, America, US and America. Oh my god, Canada, US, America. I'm sorry. Native speakers are people that are from Canada, the US, England, Australia, South Africa, New Zealand, and one other country that I cannot remember right now. I'll put it on the screen if I remember. So yeah, those people are considered native speaker. Basically mean they speak English as their first language, hence native speakers. Native speakers tend to have more salary than non-native. I am Nigerian and I will be considered a non-native speaker even though English is my first language. But it is what it is. It is the game. Charge it to the game. So yeah, salary is something to consider as well. So if you're a native speaker, you're definitely on the higher end of the spectrum when it comes to the salary. Native speakers here earn anything between 1,800 or 2,000 USD to depend on the level you're working at. You can, oh, I forgot to add, you can also get university jobs here. Let's put that to point number one. There are also university jobs here, but most university job you need an MSc for that. So yeah, so your salary would depend on your qualifications and what level you're teaching. So for native speakers, yeah, they get higher, more paid than non-native. Non-native teachers can get anywhere from $1,000 to like $2,000, depend. And another thing that can affect your salary, which is something you should also consider, I'm just going to add it to point number 2, is your location. So location, where are you working? Which place are you at? If you're working in the countryside, your salary is lower. It doesn't even matter whether you're native or non-native. I mean, your salary is lower, but compared to the non-natives that works in the countryside, native teachers still have higher salary. It doesn't matter, it depends on the place you are. It doesn't matter what level you are. Native teachers will always have higher salary than non-native teachers. That's just like the way it is. So yeah, your location also matters. If you want to work, if you get a job in the countryside, your salary is lower compared to if you have a job working in the bigger cities like Hanoi, Ho Chi Minh, Da Nang, Nha Trang, those kind of bigger cities. People who work in bigger cities, salaries are definitely higher than the people who work in the countryside. So that is also something you should consider when you are thinking about moving to Vietnam to teach in 2025. Okay, so the third thing I'm going to talk about, which is segue from the last point, location. Location would also the cost of living, your cost of living would also depend on the location that you live. So let's call this point location / cost of living. Your cost of living will also depend on your location. If you live in the bigger cities, obviously, first of all, in general, Vietnam is very affordable. It's a very affordable place to stay. I feel like it doesn't matter what kind of lifestyle you have. Even if you spend a lot of money in a month, I feel like it's very hard to go broke in Vietnam. Or it's very hard to be like, oh my god, I cannot survive before I get my salary. It's very, you have to be like you have to spend a lot for that to happen to you. So I want to preface it by saying Vietnam is very affordable, but your location also depends on how much you save and whatnot. So obviously, if you live in the countryside, your cost of living will be very low because rent will be very low. And I think one thing I noticed about most people that work in countryside, sometimes your school would provide accommodation for you, so that's another incentive to think about. But even if you're renting your own place and you live in the countryside, your cost of living is very low compared to if you live in places like Hanoi or Ho Chi Minh. Ho Chi Minh is very expensive. Friends that I know who live there, people that I know who live there, say it's definitely more expensive than living in Hanoi. So yeah, that is something you should consider. Location, where do you want to work? What kind of lifestyle do you want to have? If you want to live by the beach, then you should think about working in Da Nang or Nha Trang. If you want to live in a big city vibe kind of place, then Ho Chi Minh City is definitely the place for you. If you want to live in a city but has a little bit of culture, then Hanoi is the place for you. I live in Hanoi. I love it here, so I would always tell people to move here. But yeah, so location matters, and also the kind of life you want to have matters, or like the kind of lifestyle you want to live here in Vietnam. That should also determine the place you live and also the cost of living. I can only speak for Hanoi because I don't live in Ho Chi Minh, so I don't know how much you can rent a place in Ho Chi Minh City. But we live in a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom place here in Hanoi. We live in Taeho, which is the foreigner community of Hanoi, which is also considered one of like the expensive areas for getting an apartment or just living in general, because a lot of foreigners live here, so naturally things are just expensive here. So we live in a 2-bedroom, 1-bedroom 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom, and we're paying $650 US equivalent every month. That's minus the bills, just the rent, flat rate of the rent. That's how much it costs. But if you live in the countryside, and you have a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom, it would definitely be way more lower than this. And also even within the same city, Hanoi, if you live in different parts of the city, it would be lower because, like I said, this area is like the foreigner area, so everything is just naturally more expensive here. So yeah, location / cost of living is something you should also think about if you want to move to Vietnam to teach in 2025. Now I'm going to talk about the documents that you would need to teach here. So the standard, you need a university degree, so a BSc. I get a lot of people message me so many times like, oh, I have a degree that's not a BSc. Is that acceptable? But no, you need a BSc at the very least to get a job here. If you have a master's degree, that's added advantage to you as well. It's not really compulsory, but it's an added advantage. You also need a TEFL. So you need a TEFL if your university degree is not like in education or English or any of those kind of things. Like if your BSc is not in English, or your BSc is not in education or early childhood, you need a TEFL. For non-native speakers, you would need like a C1 or a C2, or if you have IELTS, that is accepted as well. You will need these these documents rather, to get a job and also to apply for visa. One thing that happened to me this year, because I've been at the same school since I've been here in 2022, and I wanted to extend my visa this year, and apparently there is a new law that if you don't have an English degree, you cannot work at like private schools or like just schools in general. So you have to work at like English centers, or you have to have those agencies that hire teachers to schools hire you. So I don't know how true that is. It was something that I had to deal with personally on my own when I was trying to extend my visa this year, but luckily that was resolved. So I'm just gonna throw it out there. So if your university degree is in English, you have no problems at all, or if your university degree is in early childhood education, you have no problem at all. But I think if you're like me, I study theater arts, so it's definitely not in English at all. But if you're like me and your university degree is not in English, then maybe you should consider finding jobs at English centers or agencies that hire teachers to public schools. Then that is fine. I just wanted to throw that out there. So yeah, for degrees you would need a BSc, a TEFL, and for non-native teachers, C1, C2, or IELTS if you have any of that. So yeah, that is what you would need for qualifications to teach here. Okay, I think this is point number 5. I'm not really keeping track, but anyways, one thing you need to know is the visa process. Guys, the visa process is so cumbersome for absolute no reason. So this is how the visa process works. After you apply for a job, and let's say you're outside the country, your home country, wherever your home country is, and you apply for a job and your school has accepted you, what your school would do is they would invite you on a business visa, and the business visa is usually 3 months. That's how long it lasts for. When you come to Vietnam with a business visa, then your school would assist you, obviously, changing your business visa into a working visa. But in order for you to change from a business visa to a working visa, you have to exit the country. So most people usually go to Thailand or wherever nearby countries that are here. So it's very cumbersome. So you need to put that in mind, because that would involve you traveling, that would involve hotels that you stay at, or hostel wherever in wherever country you're going to for your visa run. So I just want to put that out there, because you need the extra cash, because that is almost inevitable. 99.9% of people have to do the visa run. I had to do visa run too. So yeah, when you come here on your 3 months business visa, in order for you to change from your business visa to your working visa, you have to exit the country. Your employer does the application for you, and then you come back on a working visa. So keep that in mind. Just in general, visa processes are very cumbersome here. If you get a new job and you want to change your visa, you have to leave the country again. You cannot just stay in the country and switch visas. It's almost impossible to do that. So keep that at the back of your mind, that the visa process in here, the visa struggle here is very real, that every foreigner can relate to. So have extra money with you for the visa runs that you're probably going to be doing when you come here at first to work. So yeah, that is something you should also know before you come teach here in Vietnam. And just one last thing I want to add. This one is a little bit of a negative to the teaching system here in Vietnam, but it is what it is. This is especially to non-native teachers who want to teach it, specifically Black Africans, because obviously there are people from Morocco and North Africa. They're not necessarily dark-skinned. So Africans that are dark-skinned, this is more for you. Unfortunately, it is what it is. Most places here would prefer native speakers, or if you're not a native speaker, if you're a non-native speaker, they would prefer Europeans or North Americans. It is what it is. It is sad, but it is the state of the affairs here. So you have to keep that in mind if you're someone who is from maybe any other African country like Nigeria. I'm Nigerian that wants to come here to work, or you're trying to find a job or whatnot. It can excuse me, it can be a lot more difficult for us now. When I came here in 2022, it wasn't so hard. I got my job so easily, like very quick. But nowadays it's really a lot more difficult for dark-skinned non-native teachers to find jobs, so you should keep that in mind. But if you're a non-native teacher but you're from like Morocco, Algeria, or you're European, it's very easy for you. You even see job ads saying European teacher needed. Like, it's very blatant. They don't even hide it, so you can see it there. So I just want to throw that out there for all the non-native teachers who were thinking of coming to Vietnam but you're darker skinned. You should keep that in mind. But I have to say though, personally for me, where I work is very chill. I've never experienced any form of racism in my place of work or discrimination or whatnot. It's just some schools and some parents unfortunately prefer white teachers, because if you're white, you know the way of the world, you're considered like your English is better. Even though it's so funny, because even though places like Morocco or some European countries like Russia, they don't even speak English as their first language, and there is a Nigerian or a Ghanaian whose English, like, you know, English is their first language, is what they've spoken all their lives growing up, but they will still consider a Russian teacher who doesn't speak. No, if anybody's Russian watching me, please, it's not like I'm coming for Russians or anything like that. I just want to put it out there. But they will consider a lighter skinned teacher whose native language or first language isn't English to a darker skinned teacher who spoke English all their life. You get what I'm trying to say? So yeah, I just wanted to put that out there for you to know, just for you to be aware that this is a situation that is going on here. But yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I hope you guys have found this video helpful. If anyone is coming here, whether you're native or non-native, I don't want my last points to deteriorate you from coming here. Try Vietnam. Is very amazing. I've been living here since 2022, and honestly, I love it here. I love my life here. I love my lifestyle here. I love my job here. So yeah, I hope you guys found this video very encouraging or very helpful. If you want more videos like this, let me know in the comments when it comes to teaching in Vietnam, topics you want me to talk about. I want to do more of that here. I want to give you guys value here on my channel. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe if you're not subscribed. I'm gonna say it out here now and now. I want to get to 50k this year on YouTube, and we can help each other, you know. So guys, help me get there. It's my goal for this year to try to get to 50k subscribers. So yeah, help me get there. But anyways guys, thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate you, and I will see you guys in my next one. And oh, happy new year guys. I wish you an amazing 2025. Bye.